Max Altschuler, CEO of Sales Hacker Inc. here at HubSpot Inbound Sales Day. Really excited to be delivering to you an interesting presentation on sales psychology. So how we use psychology in sales. And we're actually not going to get into the phone at all today. We're going to be doing social, email, some messaging, rapport building type stuff. Because we don't have time. There's just too much to go into. Data, technology, open source information has made prospecting and finding things out about your potential buyers and your ideal customer profile easier than ever before, more efficient than ever before. And so we're going to talk some more about kind of the social side of things, the rapport building side of things, and how you can leverage this information that's at your fingertips to your advantage. So first, we're going to go into social. We're going to start with getting into the friend zone with your prospect, your potential buyer, whoever you're trying to interact with or engage with. So that friend zone, that rapport that you're trying to build with them, it's really interesting if you can understand their tone in which they like to interact with people in their network. So if you go on Twitter and you see how somebody's interacting with somebody else, you can start to gauge how they interact with their friends. You can approach them in a more friendly manner. If you know that, and you're on Twitter and you're doing your research and you're understanding, what this person's talking about. It's not exactly like what they're talking about. That's great. You want to know what they're interested in. If they're a big sports fan or if they're into, movies or music, you want to know who they're into. That information is crucial, but also how they talk to people, how they're interacting with people on Twitter, on the internet. So it's really interesting to understand, is this person somebody I can be more casual with? If there's certain ways they like to act that I can mirror in talking to this person. And then there's, the research you can use afterwards to provide value and continue, having that conversation with them. So, for example, you find somebody's a Patriots fan, they just won the Super Bowl. Well, that's something you could use in your outreach and your follow-up. That's something you can send information on that's value add for them. It doesn't have to be all about work. And honestly, it shouldn't be all about work. So, if Tom Brady, the quarterback of the New England Patriots, is injured or something like that, or is having an amazing season, send them links about that kind of stuff. If they're tweeting about that, engage on those links. Same thing can be said about, somebody checks in at a movie, they went to go see Finding Dory or something like that, and you just saw the movie, you can engage on that point. But staying on social and understanding people's tones and how they like to interact with their friends and talk to people is extremely powerful when you're trying to kind of build that rapport with someone. And you also want to use that context to continue building relationships even further down the line. So you finally get them on the phone, you have the conversation, they fall off, you can continue to provide value and engage in that manner. On Twitter, you're following, you're favoriting, you're retweeting, you're replying. There's a lot of different ways to engage with people on Twitter. You want to kind of stay on their radar. When you're on LinkedIn, you connect, you email, you engage with their content. Those are all ways to stay on their radar. So there's actually, in advertising, they say it's an effective frequency of the law of 7. Basically, it takes 7 touches for someone to remember your brand. So, if I showed you the McDonald's logo, the golden arches, if I showed you that 7 times over the course of, tomorrow, and then I showed it to you the next day, just like a quarter of that logo, just a little bit of that golden arch with the red background, you'd know that was the McDonald's logo because you've seen it. So you want to stay on their radar, and even if they don't buy from you now, later on, if you're providing value now and you're staying on their radar, even down the line, when they hear your name or your company, they're going to go, oh, where did that come? Where did I recognize that from? And it's going to have a positive, value associated with it. And if they buy from you now, great, you earned it. You provided value over time, and you earned it. There's a famous entrepreneur, Gary Vaynerchuk, who wrote a book called Jab, Jab, Right Hook, and he talks about providing value, and then earning the right to ask, and that's the right hook. So you are providing value, you are using the open source knowledge that's out there through LinkedIn and Twitter and the internet to understand, where these people went to, high school, where where they grew up, where they went to college, where they're like that's their alumni network. People have a strong bond around their alumni network, and all these other details that you can use to engage with them and provide value for them, not just on a work setting, but you don't want to just send them a case study. Like they don't want that. They want you to provide value first before you send them that case study. Before there's like a reason to buy anything from you, you have to earn that. So the things that you should be working with marketing and saying, okay, for this vertical, here's some really interesting articles that have nothing to do with us, just the vertical that we can send to our prospects in that in that vertical. So you're talking to people in healthcare. Here's some really interesting things going on in healthcare that they might find valuable. Send those and earn that right to send the case study or something else that ties it to your business later on. The context that you use, like I said about the alumni network earlier, you should leverage those connections with people in their organization. So if you're trying to get to a decision maker inside of GE or Amazon Web Services or something like that, if you can find somebody that you have a common bond with lower on the totem pole, like, hey, we both went to the same university, you should build a rapport with that person on that. Hey, we have the same alumni. There's an automatic almost trust there, and we should connect. We're doing something that's really interesting for your organization. I'd love to speak to the person that is that decision maker that you're trying to get through. So you basically want to build that rapport based on that context that you have, that shared bond, and then use that to kind of go in the back door, on a back channel to the decision maker, so you can get that appointment, that meeting. And you should always go into these things with the next meeting that's in your mind. That is what you want to do with what you're doing right now. You shouldn't go into that process and say, I want to close the deal. It's all steps. And so building that rapport, building that relationship with that individual to back channel to get into the decision maker, to then have the first conversation, to then earn the right, to keep that process going. It's not about closing the deal right away. And so as long as you're thinking, in those kind of, bite-sized chunks, then you're going to have a lot more success, and you can actually put some of these tactics to really good use. You're staying on the radar, you're providing value, you work with marketing to surface different things that these people would find insanely valuable in the sales process. You are spending time daily to make sure you're doing this research on these accounts, and you should be doing this based on the size of the account. So there's the account-based sales development, account-based marketing, hot terms right now, but this is something people have been doing for a long time. There's just a lot more technology out there to support it now, which is fantastic. But you should be going into your enterprise accounts and spending a lot of time doing that research and understanding their tone and interacting with them, engaging with them. And your mid-market ones, your upper mid-market ones, a little less than your enterprise, and your lower mid-market ones, a little less than that. And then your SMB ones are, you'll take a more scalable approach. You'll do less. You'll actually use, a Charlie app that allows you to pull up a dossier of someone, so it pulls in all the information from social profiles real quickly. So you have it all in one place. You can use a team of virtual assistants in the Philippines. I use a team in the Philippines that I've been using for 5 years, and they'll go out and do a ton of lead research for me, and even sometimes put together some really interesting personal one-liners that I can use or tailor when I'm reaching out to someone. So it's a little bit of a hack there, but they're $3.50 an hour, and it's a great wage down there. They all work from home, and that works really well. There's Ringlead is another platform that allows you to go and get net new email addresses, but also find out more information about the prospect of that lead that you're talking to. And then we have a preferred partner program on Sales Hacker that's an easy way to find out about more of those types of technology that can help you build a fuller profile and help you do this more efficiently and at scale. And that's what we're all about. We're about doing this in an efficient but effective manner. And with technology these days, it's been made a lot easier. Next topic we'll go into is really the email and the messaging side of things. So for email, two things that people don't take advantage of. your out of office and your email signature. Your out of office, so many times I see people that are like, okay, um, I'm out of office from 8:22 to 8:28, and here's the appropriate person to contact. Thank you. You're blowing a massive opportunity to basically advertise back to that person through email. So for our out of offices, I say I'm out of the office, and I'll be back, in the state. But in the meantime, check out, join the 35,000 subscribers at saleshacker.com. Check out our, most recent post on X, Y, and Z, or check out our upcoming conference. Join 2,000 people at our upcoming conference. I use that as a way to advertise back to people, and it's going back to them. They're going to read it. They just sent you an email, and immediately it responds. Like, it's getting opened. You're out of office. You might as well take advantage of that. The other thing is your signature. So when I was at Udemy, most people put their name, their title, their company, and their phone number, whatever. But you should add a link about recent positive press about your company, if there is any. But when I was at Udemy, we raised a round of funding, and there was an article that was like, Udemy raises $12 million to democratize education. And, you can change that title based on who you're selling to. So I was selling to instructors and publishers. So Udemy raises $12 million to help instructors and publishers market content, create content. Whatever message I wanted to get across, I can change that link to. When they click it, they see the article on TechCrunch. They'll see the different title, but I'm marketing that article to them in the email signature. And everybody you send an email to sees your email signature. So you're missing a huge opportunity if you're not marketing in that signature. It's just another area in that email you can use to get some real estate in their eyeballs when they're looking at your email and they're sizing up your company. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. In the messaging on your emails, you got to make sure you keep it short, dumb it down. Don't use industry acronyms. You want to make it so that people don't have to think so much. If people have to think too much about the actual writing and not about the message, then you're not doing your job. If you're using massive paragraphs and you're not spacing that thing out, almost forget everything you learned in your English classes in high school and college, because email writing is very different. You want to break things out so it's super simple for people to read. Use bullet points if you have to. Break paragraphs up. Keep it short. Keep it simple. And don't use acronyms. Don't use bigger words when you don't need to. If you can use the word use the word use. You don't need to say things like utilize and leverage. It doesn't just make it super simple. Keep it on a 5th, 6th grade reading level almost. If you look at every popular musician, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, all these people, their songs are written on a 3rd grade reading level because it makes it really easy for people to process. That's not what you should be doing when you're listening to a song. I'm trying to understand the lyrics. Same thing with an email that you're writing. Don't make them bend over backwards, to look things up or think about what this sentence is supposed to mean. Keep it super simple. A lot of people don't do that. Make sure you're breaking up those paragraphs. If you see something that looks like a lot, on a computer screen, imagine what it's going to look like on a phone. So always break things up easier. Keep it short. People, again, are reading them on phones. Obviously, the next step is to get the meeting or to get the call, not to close the deal usually, depending on your deal sizes, but keep that in mind when you're creating that messaging. Another thing you can do is reach out to complementary products and see if they'll introduce you to customers and vice versa. See if there's ways that you can work with complementary companies or affiliates to work together and make introductions to companies that should be using you also. If your product is complementary to marketing automation and isn't a competitor of a marketing automation company, then you should be working with marketing automation companies because that's your ideal customer profile. Those are the people that should be using your product. So maybe there's ways in which you can make introductions and they can make introductions for you to potential customers. And that referral and that word of mouth goes a really long way. And when you're sending those introductions, make sure when you're asking someone to send an introduction for you, write it out for them and have them forward it along and add their little endorsement right above it. That's the best way to send an introduction. Something forwardable that they can easily send off with your little endorsement right before it. And then you want to make sure that you write that intro for them. You close the loop after the introduction has been made. So if you're introducing somebody else, make sure that you've asked them, how did it go? If it went well, they should be thanking you. You should always send a thank you if it went well for you. You got an introduction. Make sure to close that loop yourself. Make sure to say thank you. If it works out to be business for you or fundraising or a hire or something like that, get them a gift, get them a bottle of scotch, flowers, whatever it is. But show your appreciation, and I bet you'll be front of mind next time they have a similar, oh, you're looking for somebody in, you're hiring somebody in marketing. I just happen to have that person, and you're front of mind because you appreciated it last time they did you a favor. So make sure you're closing that loop and doing those things, saying thank you. It goes a long way. So we went over quite a few tactical things you can do now in social, Twitter, LinkedIn, in research, building rapport, tone, staying on their radar, effective frequency. Went over a couple apps and some software, email out of office, email signature. Went over complementary products, introductions, messaging. So if you have any other questions, you can find me on Twitter at MaxAlts, and then Sales Hacker Twitter at Sales Hacker. Go on saleshacker.com. You'll find out a ton more about the future of sales content that we produce, and then we have a preferred partner program that we're rolling out in September that will have all of our recommended sales software solutions and providers. You should definitely check that out. And my book, Hacking Sales, is on sales on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But I hope you learned a lot. Please reach out to me. I will answer your questions. Find me on LinkedIn at Max Altschuler /Max Altschuler. And thank you for joining us on the HubSpot Inbound Sales Day.